Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. This is the Spirit Ninjas Spiritual as Fuck podcast.
Episode number 3.
It's exciting times, and today we dive deep into...
relationships. Yeah,
whether you want one, you've got one, you don't want one, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
You want to tune in.
We share little bits, lots of bits actually, of our past relationships. So all the nitty-gritty details.
Yeah, the gong show of our past.
Yeah.
So tune in. It's gonna be a doozy.
Hey, you just turned into the Spirit Ninjas Spiritual as Fuck podcast. The show that aims to inspire, uplift, and questions everything. And now your hosts, Bart Rigel and Holly Emerson.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Spirit Ninjas Spiritual as Fuck podcast.
We're glad you are joining us. And today, Bart had said that he wanted to talk about relationships. So
It's true.
I guess
That's
that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about relationships in a spiritual sense and relationships as in relationships with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
Husband, wife,
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So what exactly did you want to...
Well, I mean, I was thinking, and this is such a big, important part of our lives, because if you don't have this part kind of figured out, then it can cause so much pain. Like, holy crap. Like, you know, your relationship is so key, like a foundation for the rest of your life. Because if you have struggles in your relationship, you have struggles at home, I mean, that permeates into every other part of your life.
Yeah, but I think you have to back it up. And I think the most important relationship is the one with yourself. So I think that a lot of people have maybe not the healthiest relationships because they ultimately don't have the healthiest relationship with themselves.
It's true.
That's what I think. So what did you just say? You just said, like, if you don't have that relationship with a partner that's healthy, then you're kind of screwed. Well, I think it's actually you're screwed if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself.
Yeah, the trouble is, though, that, I mean, really, how many of us actually accept that they're the ones that are the problem? That the problem is within them?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people do. And I think more people need to start taking responsibility for themselves.
Ooh, I think we just pissed off a bunch of people.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, that's honestly what I think. Because as soon as I started taking responsibility for myself and my shit, I didn't blame anybody. Yeah, there's certain things that happened in my life, but I don't blame anybody for whatever happened to me. I think it was all my doing. You know, I have to be responsible for that. And then when I took responsibility for it, then my relationship with my partner shifted in the sense of at that time I left that partner and then we ended up together. Mm-hmm. You know, and my life changed in such a crazy, awesome way. Yeah, so I'm sorry if I pissed anybody off, but that's just what I think.
No. And this is so key, I think, to, you know, finding true love in your relationship. You know, whether it's with your existing partner or your next boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it is, you know, things might shift. Things might actually shift because I remember, so for me, before you and I met, I was in a very dysfunctional relationship with someone who was in another relationship. It was this whole crazy thing. It was very complicated. And it was absolutely terrible.
And it was a relationship that you weren't aware of.
Oh, I was aware of it.
Yeah, but at first you weren't. Or were you?
I was.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The thing is that, like, you know, she kept stringing me along thinking that, you know, she was going to leave.
You allowed yourself to be strung along.
I did, for years. For years. And, I mean, it was absolutely terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And, I mean, I had this idea that, you know, I needed to be with this one specific person. And, you know...
So was she in a relationship with that same person the entire time and you knew?
Oh, God, yeah.
For how many years did you know?
Like since the beginning.
Since the beginning.
4 years.
4 years. And then you still got married.
What?
You still got married?
I still got married? No.
Oh,
this is after I left.
Oh, don't say names.
Oh boy.
This was...
All right, we're gonna bleep that part out. Yeah, so I mean, after I left my previous relationship,
your wife at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of success with the relationships.
So listen to Bart. Take his advice.
Definitely.
Oh, I thought you were talking about your marriage.
No. I was talking about after.
Okay. So I think you need to be really crystal clear here. You were the other guy.
I was.
That's where I was confused, because you made it sound like you were in a relationship and this other person was seeing somebody else, because your ex-wife did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So let's make it clear for people, because is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because I was confused there, and I know you. I'm your wife now. So Bart was married before. Bart's wife at the time ended up having an affair with somebody else.
That's right.
So that's why I was confused. But then after that relationship ended, you became the other guy. The other guy with a girl who was seeing somebody else.
That's right. And it was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. Like,
drama.
I've struggled with relationships quite a bit, for basically my entire life until I got this stuff handled. And it was...
What stuff?
Oh, we'll get to that. So after I was in that relationship, I mean, I needed to be with this one person. And no matter what, like, I mean, that was the thing. Like, there's no way around it. But when I started working on my issues internally, like all the things that were holding me back from having true love in a relationship, everything switched. I ended up moving across the country because the universe just delivered me this opportunity, and you and I found each other, and everything's been absolutely incredible. Mm-hmm. But what I'm trying to say is that, it wasn't how I envisioned it. It wasn't what I thought I wanted at the time. Yet, now that we're here, I mean, I couldn't imagine life being any better. Like, looking back, if I was to go back to that situation, and even if I ended up having what I wanted at the time, quote unquote, then it would have been terrible. I know it would have been, because the whole relationship wasn't set up on trust. It wasn't really set up on true love. Yeah, it had the wrong
foundation.
It was, absolutely. And I mean, knowing now, like what I know, with you and I, we have a certain connection. We have a certain amount of, spiritual growth together. And there was no way I was going to have that in the other relationship.
Yeah, and I think when you and I come together, we come together at a point when we'd both done a significant amount of spiritual growth and healing on our own. Mm-hmm. I think that's so key. You don't necessarily have to have a ton of it done, but I think you have to be responsible for yourself. Because I think when I started my spiritual path, it was when I became responsible for myself and really actively changing my life, starting with myself.
True.
I think that's the key too, because I was on my spiritual path, but I was dating somebody who it was like a toxic relationship, but it ended up being like such an amazing opportunity for me to grow. Mm-hmm. Because if that person essentially just showed me everywhere I needed to grow within myself, right? And once I learned where I needed to love myself and how to love myself more fully and deeply, then I was able to step into this relationship with you. So I think with us, we had both come together at the right time when you had done your work and continue to do your work, and I done my work and continue to do my work. So just who I am and who you were as a person when we came into a relationship was completely different. And then it was different in the sense of we were both loved ourselves. We both respected ourselves. We both didn't need each other. Mm-hmm. Like everything I needed, I fulfilled myself.
Absolutely.
You know, I didn't need somebody to pay for me. I didn't need somebody to care for me, cook for me, all that kind of stuff. Like I learned to stand on my own 2 feet in a sense.
Exactly.
You know, both
Exactly.
with those life things that we need to support ourselves, and then emotionally learning to support myself. And I think when people come together from that space and create a relationship, then the relationship is completely different.
Yeah, that's you nailed it. You know, for me, I remember when I left Kitchener, Ontario, and I moved to Vancouver. You know, it was at a time in my life where, I mean, everything up until that point, I was very needy. I was very needy in relationships. I was the one that like always wanted, you know, lots of affection, lots of love. I needed my relationships to be a certain way, all these things, and I needed to be in a relationship. Yet, you know, throughout all this process, I learned to be on my own, and I actually really enjoyed my own time, and I liked living alone, and I liked, you know, the way that my life was, regardless if I had somebody in my life or not. And when you and I got together, I mean, it was as much as like, and I mean this in like the most loving way possible, like I didn't need you, right? There was no neediness, no clinginess there, and it's been like the most incredible relationship. Like,
and I think also without having that neediness, like you didn't need me, I didn't need you, and so there isn't like that expectation placed on each other.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, so there's like energetically, I think when you need somebody in a relationship, like need them in this emotional sense, it's just not healthy. Like it
And
just
not to mention when you have, you know, when you need something, there's like this lack, this feeling of lack, and you're actually pushing love away, right? So you can't really have a true relationship when you absolutely need a person to be a certain way, behave certain way, give you certain things, you know, fulfill your needs. You have to be able to, you know, fulfill your own needs.
Yeah.
And then when you find someone who's in a similar kind of space, then you can have a true relationship where you both support each other, where you both grow, where you can both deepen your relationship with spirit or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So what would you say to those individuals who are single and content with not being in a relationship? Because there's lots of people who, you know, don't really want a relationship and they're happy being on their own.
And that's perfectly awesome. You know, I don't think that everybody needs to be in a relationship. And in fact, I think a lot of us, the world needs us to be single, right? Or needs them to be single because they have a certain role to fulfill, whatever that may be. I mean, everything is so interconnected that we have no idea what the, what the plan actually is. There's absolutely a plan, but they can absolutely be single, and that's totally cool.
Yeah, I think it's totally cool. I also think that I think if you've, like from I don't know how to word it, but I think if you've mastered the art of being single, I think it's really great to master the art of being in a relationship because it's really, at the end of the day, it's really easy to just be alone. And be happy just doing your own thing. But oftentimes I think, I mean, for me personally, because I'm somebody who wants to grow, wants to evolve, wants to be my best person. And so I don't often trigger myself on my own, right? And in a relationship, you get triggered.
Oh, yeah,
and
totally.
you, as much as you are in relationship with somebody, you also are each other's teachers at the end of the day. So I think that, yeah, it's really easy to be single and you can be happy and content and live an awesome life. But I also think that in a relationship, you can learn so much that you might not learn if you're single.
Yeah, no, totally. It's like that whole thing of the monk on the mountaintop. You know, this like Zen monk is in like the top of the Himalayas and he's meditating there every day and he's just super calm and like life's just amazing. And then, you know, one day he has to like come down the mountain and send out a letter. and he's standing there in line at the post office, and all these people, the kids are in line are like triggering him. He's waiting forever, all these things. People are yelling and screaming, and he's like starting to freak out because it was super easy to be up on that mountain by himself.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a great little analogy because it's so true.
It's so true. We need to put ourselves in situations that challenge and force us to grow if you want to grow. I mean, some people don't want to grow, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. And I mean, that's ultimately like, you know, when you look inside of yourself, like, you know what your true desires are. Like, do you actually want a relationship or you don't?
Yeah.
Right?
And like, are you avoiding a relationship and just saying that you want to be single?
There could be that.
Because I know there's some individuals that I know that I would think that might be the case.
Absolutely.
You know, that
no question.
that they might have a fear of intimacy. They have a fear of love, allowing love. So if you are one of those people who do prefer to be single, then ask yourself why and be honest with yourself, because maybe it is about being fearful of being rejected. You know, it could be like a vast array of things. Or
it could also be that you genuinely need to be single and that's your path, and so be it. That's totally cool too. Yeah. It's something that you said a little while ago really resonated was the, people come into our lives for, what was it?
It's actually like a longer saying, but the gist of it is like people come into your life, it can be for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So
I like that. I like that because everything is just so interconnected, and you know, you might be with someone right now that, you know, you're completely in love with, you know, head over heels, and you know, some things might not be working, maybe it's not perfect, whatever. I mean, either they'll change, you'll grow together, and you'll have a happy life for forever, or it might change. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. You know, if I stuck around in like those previous relationships, the dysfunctional relationships that I was in, I reached a point where I couldn't grow anymore, you know, and I couldn't have found you. You know, I like my growth would have been completely stunted. So as hard as it was, like that was terrible, you know, to leave and to allow change and all these things. It was scary, but thank God that, you know, I had the strength to move on. Because now we have everything that we have, you know, and now we can grow together and all these things. But, you know, I was clinging on so hard in both those cases, and even in previous relationships before that, that it was really tough. It was tough, but, you know, life can change, and, you know, we have to allow. So if we do truly want love, then we have to allow change. Now, that might mean that you'll grow together with your partner. And I'm not saying to give up. Like, if things are going rough, don't give up. Unless it's time to give up.
Unless it's time to give up. Yeah, don't listen to us. We're not telling you what to do. But I was going to say that I think now that we're talking about change, another kind of side topic on change is not changing each other. Like, who you're with today, you have to be happy with who they are today and not want them to change in any aspect. I think that's a huge key. You have to accept who they are, because there's a good chance that they're not going to change. I mean, it might be great if they do, but you have to be like 100% happy and accepting of who they are now, which I think has been a huge thing for us. Like, I've never ever felt that you've wanted me to change.
No, I don't want that.
No.
And I feel the same way with you. You know, I don't feel like you try to change me in any way, and that is so nice.
I think it's so key. I think it's so key. I think a lot of people get into relationships and they're like hoping that, okay, when this happens, then my boyfriend or my girlfriend will treat me better, or it will change when some event or something happens, or he's working on himself or she's working on herself, and it will change. The thing is like,
it'll change when we have a baby.
Oh yeah, that's another big one. But I think for me personally, I don't think you can go into
No.
a relationship wanting to change or hoping.
No, absolutely not.
You have
That's
to just
so,
accept who they are.
so,
Yeah.
so fundamental. I totally, totally agree. You know, it's funny. I read this quote a while ago. It said that, you know, women get into relationships thinking that they're going to change the guy or the guy's going to change. And the guy gets into a relationship thinking that the girl won't change. You know? And it's this battle, and then things don't quite work out because people change all the time. You know, it's the nature of being human. We change,
Yeah,
we evolve,
we
we
do
become
change.
different people.
We
Like,
do, yeah.
I'm such a different person than when you and I
When
met.
we first started, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but throughout that entire process, I've never felt that you've wanted me to be any different. You know, we've changed together and we've grown
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing too, is being able to change together. That's like a whole other topic. And
Absolutely.
I don't even know what the key to that is. I think it's just acceptance, really.
Oh, totally.
But at the same time, like values, like we have similar values
Mm-hmm.
in personal growth. So if you're somebody who likes personal growth and the other person doesn't like personal growth, or vice versa, then it can be challenging.
Yes, of course.
That's always been how it was in my past relationships too. Not all of them, but some of them, where the other person just wasn't willing to grow themselves as a person. You know, and that's important to me.
Oh, me too.
You know, so I really
Me
value
too.
that you're always wanting to be better and go deeper and connect
Yeah.
more with yourself.
Yeah,
and-
I mean that's important for me, and I mean it's the same reason that we both agreed that we didn't necessarily want kids, right? I mean that might change in the future. I mean who knows? I mean at the end of the day, I've come to a point where I realize that I don't know anything and that things will change, and if it does, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I mean at this point, we've been pretty open and honest with each other on
Yeah.
that front, and
yeah.
we've allowed.
And I
things
know
to be-
there's some people out there that are going to look at us and be like, when you get older, we are older. I'm like 10 years older than you think I am. So I get that
Yeah.
all the time. When you get older, you'll change your mind.
Yeah.
I'm almost 40, so
Well,
I'm happy about my age. I'm fine with my age.
oh, totally.
But yeah, we've gone through the whole, I mean, I wanted kids I thought I did, but I realized it was a societal thing.
Totally.
Societal expectation. The only thing that would change my mind is with like an opportunity to adopt an older child. I'm adopted. This is going to be many other podcasts where we talk about adoption, my story around adoption, and what I want to share around that story. But yeah, adopting an older kid would
Yeah.
be cool. Perhaps, maybe. I don't know.
Perhaps. We'll cross that bridge when we
Yeah.
get there.
Anyways, that was a little bit of a side note.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like with relationships, we have to understand that everything is so vastly interconnected. That we don't know what the ripple effects are. When you say something to someone in a scenario, or you smile at someone somewhere, it just it affects so many more people than we even realize. But I mean, I think one thing that's certain for me is that in order to grow in a relationship, I mean, for things to get better, it comes down to that whole thing we talked about the other day, is just being present in relationships, and even being present while you're talking to people, listening, communication.
When you said that, I thought of something completely different. Yes, I thought of being kind and compassionate, considerate. Those are things that I really value in a relationship, that I value in ours so much.
Of course.
And I think when you are kind and considerate, I think you automatically become present when you're listening. Like you'll listen to me because you love me and you're genuinely interested in what I have to say. And that is because you're kind and compassionate. And
But where does that come from?
Where does being kind and compassionate come from? I think they're kind of the same. Like, I think it's interconnected. But I'm just saying, like, I think that it kind of goes to our last topic, like our last podcast, with like the whole being present. Like, some people don't understand what that means, but you understand what being kind is. You understand what being compassionate is. So when you are kind and compassion, yes, you do drop into a space where you're more present. But how do you get to that state of presence? Well, one way that you can get there is being kind to each other, being compassionate to each other. I just think it's like something that your brain can kind of understand.
Yeah, totally.
Because I think that we completely are like that. You know, in our day-to-day, like, you're so kind to me. I love it. You know, like, we're always so good to each other. And I think that's so important. Like,
yeah, definitely. You know, I do feel that, like, that love and the compassion, all that stuff, I mean, it comes through from, like, our true nature, right? Like, if you strip away all the ego BS, then
our true nature is love and joy.
Exactly. And I mean, then you have no need to be mean or, you know, say mean things or, you know, hurt each other, right? Like, I mean, I wouldn't imagine saying anything mean to you because, like, I just doesn't even, like, come to my realm of possibilities.
No, and
right?
you're never mean to me.
Yeah.
You're always so kind to me. Thank you for being so kind to me all the time.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I mean, something that I think we need to consider too is that, you know, there's a lot of relationships out there that they, you know, foster a lot of hate and resentment, right? We have to come to a place where we appreciate every opportunity, right? Even if it's not perfect, right? If somebody triggers you, that's an opportunity for you to look inside, like, what is it in this person, in this situation that's triggering me?
Yeah, this is a whole other topic too. Projection. We project so much of our stuff onto the other person.
Absolutely.
When it's really not even about them, it's about ourselves.
Totally. And then, you know, let's say you go through a bunch of stuff and, you know, there's all this pain and suffering and you end up breaking up and then there's a divorce and then there's kids involved and, you know, how many times there's like a legal battle and all these things. There's so much pain and hurt in these events. Yet they can actually be a source of, like, incredible grace, right? Because if you can come to a point where you just appreciate the lessons that have come through that, then it changes everything.
Yeah, and I think you probably have to, like, dive a little bit deeper into your own personal experience around that, because I can hear people, like, shouting through the airwaves, being like, well, you haven't been through it, or
yeah,
you have.
I have.
Yeah. And so, I mean, can you remember back, like, how did you feel about that all? Like, were you graceful through it? Were you...
Well, not at first. I mean, I remember when I first started the whole, like, divorce proceedings and everything, and we got separated and everything. Like, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And I mean, through that process, like, I wasn't always that nice, you know, like, I was triggered a lot and I would say mean shit, you know. It wasn't pretty. You know, looking back at it now, I'm extremely grateful for everything that I learned because it pointed things out for me. You know, there were things within myself that I needed to heal. And if it wasn't for that relationship, I mean, I would have been going through life with blinders on, just accepting that this is the way that I am. Yet, looking back at it, you know, it's so clear to me now how there were certain things within myself. I mean, I was clingy, I was needy, I wasn't always like the best boyfriend or husband. You know, all these things. I didn't appreciate what I had in certain situations. So there was lots of instances where I could have been better. But if it wasn't for that relationship and it falling apart ultimately, then I wouldn't have appreciated and, you know, come to these conclusions now and, like, really heal them. Yeah.
Can I ask, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but can I ask a question?
Go for it.
So if you could give your past self advice from who you are now, when you were going through that divorce process and you weren't being very nice, what would your advice be to your past self?
I think I would have gone back and told myself just to surrender more, just to allow things to change, because there was so much resistance. It's like, I don't want this happening. You know, I don't want this happening. I want it to be different. I want this to be different. I want that to be, I want this person to be different and act in a different way.
I think
And
that's what the key is.
yeah.
That's where I feel like for me listening to it, because I haven't been through that experience, but I just feel like I'm imagining.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I feel like if I was on the other side and if I was going through that right now and somebody was like, just surrender, that would be something where I'm like, okay, because that would create some space, right? I could feel how that would create some space from you and the outcome and wanting it and having expectations for it to be a certain way and just allowing the universe to handle it for you.
Yeah.
In a way, right?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, if I allowed myself that space to just surrender and allow things to be, then, I mean, regardless of the outcome, it would have been, whether we were together or not at the end of the day, I think the whole process would have been so much easier. You know, there wouldn't have been, so many instances where I was a douchebag and she was mean and all these things. Like it was a total clusterfuck.
Yeah.
And it could have been avoided and it could have been a lot easier if I just allowed space, if I meditated more during that time. Because when you're in the thick of it, the last thing you're thinking about is like, how can I get more present here? You're thinking about how not to throw the TV across the room. You're not thinking I need to own. No, that's like straight out. See ya.
Yeah.
But it would have helped so much. Oh my God.
So do you think that's even practical? If you're somebody who's if you're like you said, you're trying to just not throw the TV across the room, how can you practice surrender? What's something little and tangible?
You can, because there was lots of moments where I had time to myself when things were calm. It's not like your anger level
raging the entire time.
Yeah, exactly. It comes and goes. It's like an ebb and flow thing, right? You become an idiot, you lose your mind for a bit, and then you calm down. And when you're in the middle of it, good luck, right? When that rage takes over, you're done. It's just good luck trying to control it, right? But then you realize maybe 5 minutes after or 2 days after or whatever, you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that, right? And then during those calm times, that's when you can go in and just meditate, become present, go for a walk in the woods, just be quiet with yourself.
I would think doing something that you love.
Yeah, totally.
Whether it's maybe you like to paint or just, go for
Get
a
into
walk.
that space. Get into that space when you can, because if and when that situation comes in again where you're going to be triggered, by having that space before, you're going to have a much easier time dealing with those situations in a graceful kind of way than if you don't. If you're in your head the entire time and you don't allow room for space, it's going to be a lot harder. Trust me. Oh my God. It's terrible. So glad I'm out of there. I've learned so much. I'm super grateful. Looking back at it now, I mean, people ask me, would I have gone back and done anything different? Not really, because I've learned so much through this process. I am such a different person than I was back then. And I owe it largely due to those really tough experiences.
Yeah, me too. As much as I say, my one past relationship was so horrible, I'm actually so grateful. That person was such a great teacher for me because I learned so much self-love.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he was not capable of it, right?
Exactly.
And it was perfect because then I had to step up in my own way. And it was great.
So, even your previous relationships, the ones that were really tough, look at those relationships and look at those people and be thankful if you can get to that space, because ultimately they've brought you here. They made you who you are. They've deepened something within you, whether you recognize it yet or not. Maybe in 5, 10, 15 years from now, you're going to look back and you're like, oh, that's why I needed to be here. I needed to be with this person. I needed to create whatever you created at that time.
Yeah, and I think also maybe if you haven't found the right person, it's about understanding the patterns that you might be creating for yourself in relationships. Because I realized for me, I had this block of, because I didn't love myself enough, I wouldn't allow people to love me enough. So first I would have boyfriends who loved me so much. I dated some really awesome boyfriends, and and they loved me so much, but it was like too much love. So I would cut it off and I would sabotage the relationship somehow and end the relationship. And then with the one previous to Bart, it was like the total opposite. The universe was like, okay, Holly's not getting this lesson that she really needs to learn self-love and that she is worthy of this love and that she deserves it. So we're going to give her a guy who just isn't going to love her, that she's going to love.
Yeah.
And so that was how like the universe kind of angled it to me. So I finally learned the lesson of like self-love and self-worthiness was giving me somebody who didn't love me. So I needed to step up and learn to love myself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd still probably be in that shitty relationship with somebody who didn't totally love me. Like, he only loved me so much, right?
Exactly.
I call it like I had this internal love thermometer that was only set to like maybe medium. But lukewarm medium. But I wanted like the ultimate love. But you can't have the ultimate love if you don't love yourself. You'll only allow love to flow in your life as much as you flow that love to yourself.
Totally.
And so that was my lesson. So I think, when you look at your past relationships, look at them like, okay, what was this relationship trying to teach me? What was this person trying to teach me?
Yeah.
What instances maybe are the same, maybe from a different angle, but how are they kind of the same?
Yeah, that's so important. The universe gives us opportunities and challenges to heal certain parts of ourselves. So it's like, something happens. It's like the universe pointing like, hey, look over there. You got triggered. You got to heal that. You got to heal that thing.
Yeah.
And
when if you don't heal it, then you just keep getting that same lesson.
Exactly.
Over and over again. It'll just come in a different form.
And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. They've been attracting the same person for their entire life, or they keep finding themselves in the same situation over and over and over again. But why is that? It's because it's another opportunity to drop in, heal it finally, and then you no longer have to live it again. Yeah. You're done. You can move on, and you can attract something else, right? Whether the person that you're with changes or the relationship dissolves in a graceful way and you move on, you find the best partner you can even imagine.
I mean, that's how it happened for me. Like literally in a matter of half an hour.
Yeah.
For me with my past relationship. Half an hour before I was like totally in this mix with this guy, and then half an hour later I was like, oh, you know what? I'm over it. I'm actually over it. And I never cried. I was just like totally fell out of love, totally realized that this person is not what I want, not what I deserve. And like, he freaked out because he was like, what, you're actually breaking up with me now? Because we'd gone back and forth so many times. And this time it was just like, no, I'm like refreshingly done. Like, thank you so much. I'm going back to my place now. And that was, thank you. And and that was it. Like, it actually, for me, and it was so crazy because I remember how I felt like in the beginning and in the middle and like an hour before that moment. I was so like needed it. I so wanted that relationship to work. And it was like, I was so like, I couldn't imagine not being with this person.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't break up with this person because like the worst thing in my mind was seeing that person with somebody else. And then literally like in like a moment, it was so crazy how it happened. But it was like over the years of being with this person, I had done like so much of my inner work and then just kind of like built and built and built. And then suddenly something just clicked within myself.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, oh my God, I'm not going to allow this anymore. And that's why I say, like, from my own personal experience, shitty relationships was my own fault.
Oh.
It was my own fault.
It always is.
And it wasn't until I took responsibility for myself, started to heal myself, then I changed. Like, I don't blame him for treating me the way he treated me because I allowed it the entire time. It always takes two to tango. I could have left that relationship at any time.
Of course. But you needed the universe to like keep pointing, like heal that right there. You see it? Do you see it right there?
Totally.
You gotta heal it.
Totally. But at the same time, I was like, I wanted him to change.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Because I was like, if you just treated me like this, then we wouldn't be fighting or I wouldn't feel this way. But it actually has nothing to do with the other person. This is where, I think some people might get pissed off about because you do have to take responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
I totally believe that. Like, even with my relationship with my mom and I have had like, I'm sure so many mother-daughters out there can relate, but like oil and water, like I annoyed her my entire life. And, you know, it's like there was like this red button and we each had one, my mom and I. And it was like every day we'd be like, beep. We just push each other's buttons, just like, you know, but at the same time, like through my healing, I never blamed her. Mm-hmm. It was just like, yeah, I wanted her to love and be proud of me and accept me and all those kind of things that is very common for daughters.
Of course.
But she never could. But I never blamed her in the sense. Like, I never called her and was like, Mom, you have to come to mother-daughter therapy with me. I was like, I'm going to go to therapy myself.
Right. You know, and then it changed.
Yeah, that was like magic too. That was crazy. But it's true. That's why I'm saying, like, you have to take responsibility for yourself, because at the end of the day, the other person may never change. Like, in situations like that, you almost have to expect them to not change.
Oh, definitely.
You just have to change yourself.
Definitely.
And when you change yourself, and when you learn to love yourself and build up your self-worth and self-respect and self-trust, all that, everything inside your inner world, that's what shifts your outer world.
No doubt about it.
I can talk about that forever. I
no
feel
doubt
like
about
I'm going
it.
on a tangent. I'll stop now. I think you get the point.
Yeah.
We'll save that for another podcast.
That's right. That's right. So,
but it all ties into relationships. Like, I'm like so huge on self-love.
Yeah. I mean,
self-love is
so
like my mission to share.
It's foundational.
It's completely foundational, because it's been like the foundation for transformation and manifestation in my life is self-love. So I will preach that till the cows come home.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think the cows came home now for today. Anyways.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're going to end it here today. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you so much. And just if you did enjoy this and you want to support us in any way, if you could please just leave a review of the podcast on whatever platform you're watching it, whether it's on YouTube or on iTunes or anywhere else.
Yeah.
Please just leave us a rating. You know, let us know what you think. Any suggestions are always welcome. And I guess we'll see you guys next time.
I think so. So thanks so much, guys. So
Muchas
grateful
gracias.
for you. Okay, bye.
Adios.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening to the Spirit Ninjas Spiritual as Fuck podcast. Make sure to tune in next time for more deep conversations to uplift, inspire, and blow your mind. Spiritual as fuck.